Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. And I'm speaking to you, I think, as the CEO of Money Advice Service, but also briefly about my experience before I became CEO of Money Advice Service, where I was Director of Private Pensions at DWP and responsible for introducing automatic enrolment and the Nest pension scheme, which I suspect has already been mentioned today. The success of it is claimed by many, many people, but I was actually responsible for introducing it. The challenge for smart meters is about bringing widespread behaviour change to the way people manage their energy. We're trying to do that with money. Last year, we launched a financial capability strategy, which sets out a 10-year horizon to try and raise the financial capability of the UK. And it needs doing badly. We do a financial capability survey every 2 or 3 years, and I won't quote all the horrifying statistics that come from that, but just to say to you, at the moment, we have 8.2 million people in the population with problem debt. We have 40% of adults that can't meet a £500 bill. So we've got a lot of people that are wobbling on the brink of falling into problems. And what we want to do with the financial capability strategy is to get people to manage their money better, to build financial resilience. And that means a big change in behaviour. It means changing social norms. And I think, you know, everyone here will agree that is not an easy thing to do. We live in a spend for today society where it's the norm to have a credit card. It's the norm to have debt. And somehow we've got to turn that round. We've got to turn it round for adults, but we've also got to tackle the problem with children. We know that habits are formed before the age of 7. We've done research which proves that. Now, we're not expecting children before they're 7 to be able to explain what an APR is, but we're talking about simple habits that will affect their money management in later life. So we've got to get to them young. We've got to get to parents, we've got to get to children at school, and we've got to get to adults. And I think the important thing, which I suspect has been mentioned again many times this morning, is about the way that small things can really make a difference to people's lives. And I want to talk about 2 pieces of research, effectively, that we've done. I would love to be able to say that we've managed to change the nation's spending habits. We haven't. But we have carried out small-scale experiments which suggest to us that it is possible to do it. You can find that tipping point, but it's going to be a big challenge to do it. Now, one of the research projects that we carried out last year was to take 24 people on very moderate incomes. The lowest was £15,000 a year. Most were around £20,000, £30,000. And we challenged these people, all of whom said they could not afford to save £100 a month. And 22 out of the 24 did it. We asked them to keep a video diary for 3 months, and we gave them a few tips about how to budget, things that they might do. And as I say, 22 out of the 24 managed to meet that challenge. And not only that, they kept their video diary for 3 months. We didn't tell them that we were going to come back to them another 3 months later, and we did. And they were still saving. And the important thing was that they had a goal, they'd been given a challenge, they'd been given a bit of support, a bit of help to do it, but they realised very, very quickly how powerful they felt. Now, we're talking here about small amounts of money. We're talking £200-300. But when you watch those videos, they are incredible. You know, there is one lady that managed to save, I think, 200 and something pounds, which enabled her to take the dog to the vet. And that, she thought, was fantastic. Now, to many of us, that's very, very small beer. But it made a difference. And I think that's the important thing, that You know, we hear time and time again, people can't afford to save. It's not a question of that. It's a question of giving them the right motivations, giving them the tools, giving them the context, and helping them to do that. It is a huge challenge. Delivering behaviour change isn't easy. And it's not just about information. I think we've proved that many, many times, that actually giving people information can just reinforce some of the bad habits. And turning to automatic enrolment, where what we're doing there is harnessing inertia. Before automatic enrolment, we started work on automatic enrolment, I think, in 2005. We had a project called Informed Choice. And the theory behind that was if people just understood, if they just had the information, obviously they would save for a pension. Well, surprise, surprise, they didn't. People are not interested in saving, they're not interested in budgeting, and there's a lot of theories that suggest people can't think more than 8 years ahead. So why on earth are they going to be thinking about saving in a pension? And so a default option was the approach that we took with automatic enrolment. The issues now have changed. It's been a great success. We've got many, many more millions of people that have been defaulted into a pension, so they're starting to save. But of course, the next question is how do you get them to save more? And that's not something that you can default people into. And that brings us back to the financial capability strategy and how we get to encourage people to save more for retirement, but also to save more for their everyday lives, to build that rainy day saving. And one of the second project I wanted to talk about was one we carried out in 2013, which was called Money Lives. And it was an ethnographic survey of 70-odd people, where over a year, we, or an agency on our behalf, followed these people around, with their permission, I hasten to add, to understand how they felt about money, what they did with their money, why they did the things they did. And we learned an awful lot. We gave them some very small tools to help them manage their money better. And again, there are lots and lots of success stories where people have saved £500. In one case, it was a couple that were able to use the relatively small amounts they'd saved to set up a savings account for a disabled son. And it was very simple things, and the most effective intervention was a credit card wrapper. And it was getting people just to put a wrapper around their credit card, which reminded them, for example, I will only eat out once a week. I will now shop in Lidl instead of Tesco's. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can take my son to football. And it's those small things that really trigger the sort of behaviour that we want to see. We know from this research, and I don't apologise for repeating, I suspect, what a lot of people will be saying today. People need clear goals, they need tools, they need feedback, and they need to be made to feel in control. And then it's a question of how you harness that and move from the 24 or the 79 to the population as a whole. And crucial to that, and in the context of financial capability, is finding evidence of what works. We know that there have been a lot of attempts over the years around financial education, around all sorts of initiatives, but very little robust evaluation. And that's one of the things that we want to do within the context of the financial capability strategy, is collect together the evidence of what works and then try and spread that. And the nature of the financial capability strategy we've launched is that we work in partnership with organisations across all sectors, on the basis that, obviously, the more of us that are working together, the more effect we can have. But the important thing is we want to work with organisations that are in touch with people in their everyday lives. So organisations like supermarkets, like the fuel companies. We know people are turned off by money, but they have to do their shopping, they have to pay their fuel bills. So we want to work together to get channels into people and to ensure that people are getting consistent messages over and over again about the need to manage their money better. And we welcome the smart meter initiative because that's a way of helping people to manage their money better. But in addition to that, one of the things that we're doing at the Money Advice Service under our debt advice responsibility is trying to identify people before they fall into trouble. So identify people that are having problems with their bills. And I hope that technology like smart meters will increase that sort of data that's available and help us with that task. I suspect, as I started to say, a lot of what we have discovered, what we found out, is the same sort of thing as people are finding out in all spheres. And that just goes to show that it's about understanding people, it's about working with the grain, it's going with the grain, it's making small changes, and it's helping people to see why it's in their interests to do these things. And I couldn't finish without just saying, I know a number of you will have seen headlines from the budget over the last week or so about scrapping the Money Advice Service. Well, just to put things straight, we are not being scrapped as such. But what is happening is we are going to be changed. We will transform over the next 2 years. But the important thing to say is the report that came out at the time of the budget, which talked about us transforming to a different organisation, recognised the importance of financial capability, recognises the importance of collecting evidence of what works, and recognises the importance of continuing the good work that we've started. And it is a long, long-term challenge. So thank you.